All right, my friends, we just pressed the Let's Go Live button. And so now we've got to wait for the stream to fire up all across the fruited plain of the interwebs before we go ahead and get started. We're back, baby. It's Monday. We got a fresh new week, a fresh new month ahead of us. And I'm glad to be here with you. Hopefully your weekend was incredible. You're feeling restored, rejuvenated, refreshed, ready to go. It looks like the tubes are connecting themselves. We're back in trial again. We've got an update with Hunter and others. So let's get to it, my friend, shall we? Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live, the show that spotlights misconduct involving police, prosecutors, and politicians. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney, and today we're talking about old Hunty Poo and the fact that he brought his mommy to trial with him. Oh, Dr. Jill Biden is making sure Hunter's okay in courtroom. He's a 50-year-old dude who has had multiple run-ins with the law that he has escaped liability for. And we got a lot of evidence of his criminality up in this book here from our friends Marco Polo, the report on the Biden laptop. But a lot of this is now starting to come out, and in slight ways, the sliver is starting to crack on the Biden crime family. And we're going to talk about it because there was day one of trial there today that we're going to talk about. Jill Biden showed up. You can see her there in blue, walking right alongside him to make sure he can handle the pressure. And did you know this? Today was her birthday. So Dr. Jill Biden was there, and she had to go deal with her crackhead son on her own birthday. What a nice son. Can you believe this? So we'll go through this. We'll see what happened at trial. The Biden family put out a statement. We'll see what they said about it. And then we got a couple of filings that we'll unpack together. The first one, well, I think the only one we'll talk about. Actually, I pulled two of them up today. I forgot. Hunter's objections to the trial exhibit. So he's trying to now hide all those crack videos, you know, that Marco Polo, USA.org, and all the others have unpacked for us. Well, he doesn't want the jurors to see him because he's not in a good position there. We're not going to look at the photos or the videos because this is a family show, but they're disgusting. So he doesn't want the jurors to see those, rightfully so. So he's objecting now. Of course, this is about whether or not he was actually addicted when he went and purchased that gun, filled out that form saying, no, I'm not a crackhead. No, I don't do meth. No. And then turns out he did. So the government wants to say, dude, you're literally on video smoking crack right here and right here and right here. And he's like, can we just keep that out of there? So we'll see. All that got submitted. And then we were there with jury selection on the day. So we got updates from CNN. We don't have anybody in the courtroom live Xing this for us, but we do know they're trying to settle in on the appropriate jurors. And one juror who is favorable to Trump got the boot. Go figure. So not a surprise there either. It's happening in Delaware, and we've already been covering this for quite some time when it was hot. But Hunter was going to take a plea deal. He threw a hissy fit over this whole thing. It's a handshake deal that they were not going to prosecute him. Judge Noriega blew the whole thing up, and now trial has started. So we'll be keeping our eye on it and seeing what unpacks there as the trial unfolds. But we've also got some more updates on the Trump verdict. Of course, last week we had the guilty verdict, and we've got some more analysis on that. And been thinking a lot about it, trying to gauge where this is going. And I've got some thoughts, maybe even some predictions on how this whole thing will go. We've been talking a little bit about it on our members-only streams like we did on Saturday. But we've also got Trump now calling for SCOTUS to intervene. And so the question is, will they, can they, how will they? And so I was digging into this, and I found this great chart from a Georgetown law piece that gives us some ideas about how the appeal process works. What are we looking for? And then we also did a brain dump over here and gave ourselves some categories where the appeals might be appropriate or some problems that might be ripe for appeal is a better way to put it. And of course, we got a lot to unpack here. So judges, issues with the judge, prosecutors, just a couple issues. We'll talk about the jury, the charges. What are the problems with the jury instructions? Why the evidence was bad? They were hiding exculpatory evidence, and why the witnesses were bad. So just a couple of ideas on appeal. And of course, this is a very short list. There's probably over 100 items that would qualify for an appealable issue. But we'll talk about what those could mean, and then we'll gauge whether or not Trump will go to jail. This is a big question. And over the weekend, I was at an event, and a lot of people were asking me about this, very surprisingly. More than I was even I didn't think anybody was paying much attention to it, but they all thought, is he going to jail? Is he can he run for president? A lot of very interesting questions coming out as a result of this verdict. And I pulled this article over from the New York Times. They've got two different takes on this. From one's ultra TDSer. You know, if you put TDS on a spectrum of like clinical TDS to minor TDS, terminal TDS, something like that, right? We were talking about a dude who's on the far end of this one spectrum. And then they got somebody who's a little bit more in the middle, talking about why Trump is probably not going to be jailed. So this is a big question. And I know it sounds insane, but so did, if we rewind the clock back 2-3 years ago, 4 indictments in 4 different locations that also sounded insane. So I don't know if it is insane because we're living in this reality now. We've also got Schiff. I've got a clip from him. He wants Trump jailed. James Comey wants Trump jailed. He says, no problem. We'll just put him in a location out here by the river and he can go frolic in the meadowy dew. So we'll go through those clips, but then we'll turn it over to Trump. He spoke about this. He says, hey, I told my lawyers, don't ever beg. Don't ever beg. Okay. And we're going to get through this. And Mike Johnson says SCOTUS should step in. We've got some other representatives of Trump coming out saying Trump did nothing wrong. And Alina Habba says Trump will campaign for jail from jail. And I don't know about you, friends, but there's been a lot of energy after that verdict came down. Mike Johnson says he feels it. I've seen it. I'm sure you're feeling it. The campaign coffers are feeling it. Something like almost $200 million have come in. So I think they're just awakening a sleeping giant here and creating a martyr, and they don't even know what they've done. So we'll go through all that. We got some business to attend to today, my friends. Mommy shows up to trial with old Hunty Poo, and we're glad you're joining us. We had some updates over the weekend, so we are now moving forward full steam ahead with our Watcher meetup, which is taking place June 29th, 2 days after the first presidential debate, if Biden doesn't fall over a sandbag again in the meantime. And we got it all situated now. So we've got the contract signed from both of ours. Your boy's going to make a deposit as soon as we're done here or first thing tomorrow. And we now have it so you can go and grab a ticket. If you've already RSVP'd, please go and grab a ticket now. It's very easy to do that. You can do it one of 2 ways. Just click this buy ticket item right here. Go to watcherlodge.com. Click community calendar, click buy a ticket, and join us. We're going to Trump Hotel, 12 to 4:30. We got a whole agenda queued out. It's going to be fun. Mama G's going to be there. Some other very important people close to me are coming with me and joining us. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We can't wait for you to meet them and them to meet you and me to meet you. It's going to be great. We also then, when you sign up and get a ticket, you'll also get access to this Las Vegas meetup feed. And then you can come and vote in the poll. What kind of dessert would you like? This is what the room is going to look like that we're going to be hanging out in. And that's the contract that I signed. You'll get access to the directory and the chat. And so it's a private meetup chat. So go get your ticket, watcherlodge.com, and then join us at Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. And it's going to be amazing. So yeah, and I heard Robert Barnes might want to stop by. That is the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to reach out to him. That'd be amazing. Apparently he lives there. We'd love to have Robert Barnes stop by. That'd be cool. Okay, so come join us, watcherlodge.com. If you RSVP'd, come get your ticket because it's now set up to do that. All right. And so that's where we'll be, June 29th. Come and join us, baby. It's going to be amazing. All right, now let's get into it on the day because we got business to attend to. And are we frozen? Oh, no, hopefully not. Hopefully we're coming in loud and clear. All right, let's get to it because we got some business. Hunter Biden is in trial. Oh, how the tables have turned. Now he wants to hide all of his crack videos from the jurors, even though most of the world has seen them. Of course, the media covered them up back during the 2020 election, but they're out there. We know he's a crackhead. He knows he's a crackhead. He wrote about it. He told us all about it in his autobiography. And now the question is, well, were you on drugs when you purchased a gun and signed a form saying that you're not on drugs? Well, turns out government says he was. And we've been covering this for a long time, and this case was a case that really should have never come about. They were trying to sweep this under the rug. They had a non-prosecution agreement at the outset that turned into a plea deal, which got diverted because Hunter threw a hissy fit when they didn't make it very clear that he had immunity. It was a handshake immunity deal, but he couldn't recognize that. And now we're in trial. And Hunter, so nervous that he had his mommy show up with him so that he didn't get too scared. And here's what it looked like. Vince Langman grabbed this one for us over on X and says, oh, look, the doctor is in the house. Dr. Jill Biden, you see here in blue, walking up with Hunty Poo. And here's what it looks like. Here's the scene. There's Doctor. Don't know if we had Hunter there. Was that Hunter? That was not Hunter. But she's going into the courthouse, got Secret Service in tow to go protect her son. All right. And that is what the scene looked like. Now, it turns out it was also her birthday. Nice birthday present to your mom, Hunter. And here is what that looked like. I believe we had this clip. Well, Dr. Jill Biden got a birthday wish from Joe Biden. And apparently I copied the wrong link. But here's what Joe said. I'm so proud to be Jill's husband. Happy birthday, Jilly, is what he calls her, I guess. Jilly. All right. Which is appropriate because we call Hunter Hunty because he's so weird. All right. So Jill Biden, Jilly, Hunty, Bideny, they're all just having a grand old time. So it's a nice day for Hunter to have mom come to court. The Biden family wrote this out and says, here is the statement from President Joe Biden. Writes, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. I think that's one of those things you have to say as a parent. I don't have any kids, but I think that's just like, yeah. Okay. Hunter's resilience in the face of adversity and the strength he has brought to his recovery are inspiring to us. A lot of families have loved ones who have overcome addiction. Yeah, and know what we mean. Yeah, shout out to my mama. As president, I don't and won't comment on pending federal cases. But as a dad, I have boundless love for my son, confidence in him, and respect for his strength. Our family has been through a lot together, and Jill and I are going to continue to be there for Hunty and our family with our love and support. Signed, Jilly and Dad. All right, so that's the White House statement. That's what they just dropped out. Now, we're going to go through and see what's happening. We'll go through all of the updates on what unfolded in court today in Delaware. But before we do, let's see what these most recent filings look like, because two things dropped before the trial got underway. You can see this one came in just a day ago, and it was on the eve of trial, right before the jury was being selected. Hunty sends this one in. He's objecting. This is ridiculous. And David Weiss, of course, is the government prosecutor who is bringing this case. It was all rigged from the beginning. So this is a wild case to follow because it should have never really come about. They had a whole deal in place. It got a little bit off keister there a bit, and then it escalated and just got worse every time. And Hunter's lawyers, and I think Hunter himself probably are responsible for this deal not working. They should have just signed on the dotted line. This whole thing would have been done. And they wouldn't have brought charges against him. And if they did, for example, if Trump came into power and tried to prosecute him, Hunter would have just said, did I sign this? And you have to interpret that broadly. So it was a really dumb move on their part, but now they're objecting. And here is what they do not want the jurors to see. So these are lawyers for Hunty Poo. And they say, Hunty, he files these objections. He doesn't like these exhibits right on the eve of trial. He says, following our initial production, we notified the government, but they've made a few changes to its list. And now we don't want this stuff to come in front of the jury. And so now Hunty Poo, he seeks an order precluding the government from admitting this stuff. Here are the items that Hunter wants precluded. Pursuant to these, Biden objects to the text messages from these rows coming in because these occurred from January 2019 to March, and they're beyond the relevant period when Hunter purchased a handgun, and they're more prejudicial than probative. And we're going to see that a lot. This is Rule 403, very common. It's a balancing test like two sides of a seesaw. Is it more hurtful than it is helpful? Or is it more helpful than it is hurtful? Is it more probative than it is prejudicial, or prejudicial than it is probative? They say it's way too harmful. It's not helpful enough. So to the extent that the government wants to argue these messages are probative of his drug use, they're cumulative of what's already in there. So it's more crackhead messages. And if you missed it, go back to our prior video when we were talking about the government prosecutor's case that they have in their memo, their trial memo that they released, that's saying that they've got all these, Hunter is literally texting crackheads. We read through all of them. The president's son is like on the street of Van Buren. That's the street that we have in Arizona. Right? Up and down there, just go down there, crack galore all over the place. So don't do crack, kids. Don't do crack. But that's what Hunter was doing. Whatever in your city, whatever that looks like, that's where it is. To the extent that the government wants to argue these messages, it's already cumulative. We don't need it again. Also, this one they want gone. Say, pursuant to this one, Biden also objects to the use of this video. Because it's dated more than 2 months after the period when Hunter bought the handgun. And this video has Hunter in the nude. Which is more prejudicial than it is probative. It is actually, that is true. It's very prejudicial to all of us and those poor jurors who have their eyes blinded out by the first wiener. Oh, gosh. Then probative under Rule 403. Because this evidence is cumulative of other documentary evidence, other Hunter wieners floating out there will introduce, we do not think it should be displayed to the jury. It's true. Jurors are going to need have a rough realization. Wait a minute. That's I voted for that guy. I voted for his dad. That what? It'll be the first time they've ever seen any of this. Because our media covered it up last time. And it wasn't just our media, by the way. It was the FBI and the DOJ on top of it. And the CIA, arguably. Because they were the ones who were paying Kevin Morris. Or let me clear that up. Kevin Morris was being protected by them when the DOJ was investigating where his money was coming from. So they continue to say, pursuant to these, Biden also objects to this video because it's also prejudicial. And further, to the government also says that there's a voice in the background is Biden's. No, we don't think that's Biden's voice on the video background there. Now, Biden also objects to the use of this partially redacted photo that displays alleged drug paraphernalia, so more crack pipes from Hunter, because it's dated more than 4 months after the relevant period, and it's inflammatory because it's probably a crack pipe. This government evidence is also cumulative of, sorry, brother, no one's above the law, okay? This is evidence that comes in. Biden also objects to another crack pipe, also dated 5 months later. Does not establish where the photo was taken, who the owner of the smoking device is, who knows. It's also cumulative. Now, as defense counsel indicated that it would do, we also have excerpts from the memoir. Remember Hunter wrote about all this in his book because he's so arrogant? He just, well, I was crackhead and I regret it. And then he fake talks about sobriety and he like rips a bunch of language off from the big books and he throws it into his and calls it sobriety. And everybody in the me is like, wow, it's so beautiful. Tell me about your journey to recovery, Hunty. The government rejected Biden's additions. And therefore, Biden objects to other additions to these excerpts. And here's what they want. Biden's additions on each page. So now we're fighting over what comes in from the book. He wrote in page 5, whatever this is, that deep descent came, and through the end of alone, I lost hope. So everything in this paragraph they want added. Let me see. Incorporate the following sentences and the corresponding audiobook clips. They want to bring those in. So they want this. Also add in, I'd stayed sober since through the end of 6 major clients. So they're saying, oh, no. He was sober here for a little bit, and he might have been sober here. And the discussion quickly turned and through the end of a couple of drinks afterward, whatever that sounds like. So full paragraphs. We don't really know what they say because we have the ellipses there that we don't know what's in the middle. But he says, crazy as it sounds, something, something, something on about my business. Addiction is so complex, something, something, something. Money, emotional currency. Uncle Jimmy is my, and you can see. So he wants all of those added. They look like they're all added. And they say that's going to give us context. Now, Biden also objects, does not want this coming in, to the entire monthly Wells Fargo bank statements in September, October, November coming in. Now, what's on those things? Adult entertainment expenses, hotel expenses, and other lifestyle charges. Wonder what those are. Lifestyle charges. That's a fun one. As the parties have agreed to the authenticity of these bank records, then only those line items that are relevant should come in. And if you want to introduce other exhibits, let us know. The government seeks to. Yeah, Biden has no objection. Biden objects to these 3 photos. These photos are from Zoe Keaston's iPhone. They say these photos have no probative value. They're not relevant at all. The screenshots with Miss Keaston, whoever that is, with Zoe Keaston, and one photo of Mr. Biden sleeping, in which no drug paraphernalia is displayed or otherwise evidence, are not probative of drug use or drug purchasing or drug testimony. Any testimony from Miss Keaston about the nature of their interactions can be elicited on direct, and we don't need those photos. So Zoe Keaston is another woman who is romantically involved with Hunter, identified by prosecutors as witness 2. She is slated to testify. She was apparently someone who said that she saw Biden use crack every 20 minutes. Unless he was sleeping. So little bit problematic. Yes. Now we remember her. Okay. We remember the photos of her. All right. Not going to share those, but yeah. Okay. So one photo of him sleeping. So I don't know what her profession was. You might speculate on that one, but several photos they don't want coming in. So photo of Mr. Biden sleeping on this one. So she's taking photos of him. Photo of Mr. Biden on FaceTime. Another photo of Biden naked again with a tattoo on his back. The government has not provided its position on the relevance or the probative value. They say there is none. So don't let those photos come in. Accordingly, we also want these excluded and those excluded and these other items excluded. Sincerely, your friend, Abby Lowell, to the judge. So exclude those photos. There's no relevance. There's no probative value. Please keep it out of the trial. So we'll see what the judge does with this. Now, the judge did issue another order, and this one also came out right on the verge of trial. So let's take a look and see what's happening here before we get into the updates on the day. So this came in, skidding in on a Sunday night. Trial starts Monday. Boom. This one comes from the judge. He says, all right, listen, Judge Noriega, who has been amazing so far, honestly caught both sides in a total scam. The government was involved. The defense was involved. They wanted the court to be involved in the scam diversion plea deal, and she didn't bite, to her credit. It was really pretty outstanding that this happened this way, but here we are. She says, all right, here's the deal. To get a recap. Hunter Biden is charged with possession of a firearm by a prohibited person, can't be on crack, and by guns. And he made 2 false statements under these 2 subsections. Now, you might have some criticisms with those subsections. You might say, look, the Second Amendment doesn't say that you don't have a right to keep and bear arms unless you're sober. Like, that's not a qualifier there. It just says that's your right. You want to be high on methamphetamines? This is America, damn it. There's no qualifiers on that. Now, you can say, well, government has obviously written other rules and said that it was constitutional in various components, but maybe it's not, right? We'll leave that all aside. I don't care about the sanctity of these charges personally. I think for this case, because no one's above the law in America anymore. And if they're going to come at our side, then the justice system should enact absolute brutality on everyone else on the other side. Unfortunately, though, here, that is not that. Okay, this is a little game of patty cake. These charges are just, 1% of the criminality of Hunter and Joe and Jim and the rest of them. So it's like hitting somebody with a parking ticket for somebody who should be on a life sentence for repeated intentional criminality and the exploitation and maybe even treason of your own country. So that's where we're talking about charges that should be much more dramatic than this. It's a stupid gun charge, but that's just how it works. It's all they can get him on. And they wanted to make this go away, but they couldn't do it because he threw a hissy fit. And so they have to go forward on these charges, but they're pathetic relative to what they should be. That aside, no one's above the law, and he should be penalized to the maximum extent of the law for these charges. I digress. He says, presently, this is the judge, presently before the court is the government's motion in limine. So the government wants to create some rules around the case. In this case, they're seeking to admit. So they're saying, let's clarify this. Motion in limine, sometimes you think of it as limit because oftentimes you're trying to limit testimony. And you can't say that witness can't come in. But it's really preliminary, limine from preliminary. So it's an early motion seeking to codify the rules of what's going to be happening in the trial. They get clarity on them. So in this case, the government wants to admit ATF form 4473. And that is, and to exclude a annotated version of this form. So to admit the regular form and to exclude another form as irrelevant and as inadmissible. So this is ATF form 4473. This is not the Hunter one, but this is what it looks like. And you may have filled a form out like this. And you can see it's this one basically here, 4473, revised August 2023. So it's this form, and they're trying to basically just get this submitted. And you'll notice on this form, there's this checkbox that says, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana, any depressant, or any of these other things? Warning, marijuana, still unlawful. So are you an unlawful user of, yes or no? Hunty went over here and said, no, of course not. No, I'm not a crackhead, no. So he filled that form out. And now they're saying, we just want to submit that form. They also want to exclude an annotated version of this form. So this comes in, that comes out. Now, during the pretrial conference, the judge says, I granted an unopposed motion as to the admission of the certified form. A certified form. I reserved on the exclusion of the 2021, so I'm not going to answer that one yet. But Hunter opposes the motion to exclude the original form. He filed a response and submitted a supplemental. And in his supplemental, which is under seal, we have not seen that yet, to the extent that it discloses matters that are not public, like grand jury transcripts, a redacted public version will be filed in due course. So we haven't seen that. Now, in his supplemental, Hunter suggests he intended to seek the admission of additional exhibits, arguably from the 2021 form. The government filed a reply addressing the original opposition and the exhibits. Now, having reviewed the submissions, the judge says, I will grant the motion as follows. So it's the government's motion to seek to admit this form and to exclude another form. So some government victories here. Let's see. As noted above, the motion to admit Form 4473 is unopposed, and the court's already made a preliminary determination that the records that were certified by the gun store, which is where Hunter got the gun, StarQuest Shooters and Survival Supply, sounds awesome. StarQuest Shooters, are you kidding me? Heck yeah. Attached to the government's motion as Exhibit 1 and certified Form 4473 are admissible. So we're not even going to fight about the form. There's a records exception to hearsay. It's not an out-of-court statement. Self-authentication of domestic records. It's a regular form used in the regular course of business. And it's self-authentication of records from electronics. So all of these things say this form can come in. The rules say it's coming in. Now, the court also finds, sorry, Hunter, that the 2021 form is irrelevant and inadmissible under the federal rules. And they excluded that form at trial. But even if the form were admissible, the court finds it's excluded under the rules of evidence 403 because any probative value, that balancing test again, it arguably has is substantially outweighed by the danger of unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, and misleading the jury. And so we don't know what's actually on that form, but maybe we'll find out. Now, we also have a footnote that says, here, the government has stated it intends to call this fella. His name is Gordon Cleveland. So Gordon's going to come in. He worked for the gun store. He's going to say when he comes in and testifies that he watched Hunter fill out the form. He's the guy standing behind the counter saying, I watched him. Yeah, I watched him. He checked no to question 11E. The same question about the guns. About, well, the form was different at the time, I guess. Now on this form, it is F. 11F. The one we just looked at was 11F. So maybe on the earlier form, it was 11E. About being an unlawful user or addict. Both the certified form and the 2021 form have the same mark X responding to no on question 11E. Now, the addition of DE vehicle registration to a different section of the 2021 form after the defendant filled it out does not have any tendency to make those two facts, which are a consequence of in determining the charges, that he filled it out more and that he said he wasn't an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance, more or less probable. So it sounds like they filled out the form, like Hunter signs everything, and then he writes in the Delaware vehicle registration, which is maybe looking at the ID, Delaware vehicle registration. He adds it later, and they want that included for some reason. So the court also agrees with the government that Hunter's conspiratorial theory about doctored forms and currying favor with the government is unsupported rhetoric, which would be prejudicial and confusing to the jury. And so we're not going to allow you to say that this is some conspiratorial form. Hunty. Now, questioning testimony and evidence or argument, including but not limited to these additional exhibits, are also excluded. So they want to talk about political bias, but no, that's not coming in because such questioning and testimony and evidence and argument are not relevant to any of this stuff. It's unduly prejudicial, Hunter, and it invites jury nullification. And we're not going to be doing that in our courtroom. So this is taking place in Delaware. The court agrees with the government that the political views expressed in 2020 by the gun shop owner, who did not witness him fill out Section A of the form, are sideshows aimed at tainting and confusing the jury. So you can read into that one. What they're doing now is they're saying, well, this guy who owns the gun store, Polly Muir, he's a Trumper. He loves Trump. And so he's filling out, he's the one who filled out the form. Hunter actually didn't answer that question. Or Hunter marked, yes, I am a crackhead on the form. And this guy changed it because he wanted to go after him and set him up. So that's their defense. Yeah, right. All right. So that is what the judge has sent in. And now let's get some updates and see what took place at trial, because we have CNN who was there all day. And let's get this re-queued up, because this is where we can pick it up. Boom. All right. Now we know Hunty brought his mommy to court with him. This is where it starts 8 hours ago on the day one trial, Hunter jury selection. First Lady Jill Biden enters the courtroom Monday morning, blue suit, taps Hunter on the shoulder. I'm so proud of you, Hunter, for showing up here today. Everything's going to be okay. Your mama's here. Jill Biden and Hunter, surrounded by Secret Service, greeted each other with hugs. On her birthday, Hunter's wife, Melissa Cohen Biden, is also in attendance. There's Jill, showed up to support her crackhead son, maybe bringing him some more cocaine. Trial begins. Large pool of Delaware residents sworn in, all coming in for jury selection. They're asked questions about their political activities. Questions pop up about gun control and addiction. The judge asks all the jurors about their impartiality, and so on. And as we just covered, we know that Hunter had some setbacks. The ruling from the judge just struck down some of Hunter's defenses, granting a request from David Weiss to block one of Hunter's expert witnesses from testifying, not coming in. The defense had lined up another Columbia University-based psychiatrist They would have come in to try to poke holes in the prosecutor's assertions that Hunter knew he was an addict. Well, crackheads are not in their right mind. They don't have any intent to form. They're not forming intent. Whatever. The judge also blocked Hunter Biden's lawyers from using what they thought was a key evidence from when he filled out the form, which was tweaked, they say, in 2021 by the gun store employees. So they might have added that. They might have added something to the form. So they said, oh, you manipulated the form. So Hunter's there, shows up in court. Judge blocks key evidence. We already are familiar with those two rulings. Joe Biden put out a statement, says, I love my son, smartest man I know. But now we get into jury selection. Judge Noriega's on the bench. Individual jurors are coming into the courtroom. A potential juror is in the courtroom, says, Your Honor, I think Americans have a God-given right to own guns. Yeah, because it's self-defense, To own guns, he's excused. Sorry, won't participate in the case after he said he couldn't be impartial in judging the case. So that guy, right, might have said, this law's ridiculous. If you want to be a crackhead, meth head, cocaine addict, whatever, you have a total right to own a gun. You still need to defend yourself, even if you are a crackhead. And what is our government doing? Dictating who gets to own a gun or not. Who gets to decide if you're a crackhead? Suddenly everybody's a crackhead. You think that, Anthony Fauci is going to appropriately dictate addiction, or are they going to target certain political opponents and say, oh, sorry, you guys are all suddenly crackheads? We know that they called the Trump MAGA extremists, Trump supporters, MAGA extremists. They basically terrorists. So perhaps they would use that as justification to also remove gun rights. So you can understand how you could get irritated about this. But anyways, that might have been a pro-Biden juror. Some of the potential jurors who were still in the jury pool include a woman whose sister went to prison for drug-related offenses, and another woman whose brother is in rehab. Those might be friendly jurors. Still in the jury pool, right? She might say, hey man, my brother went through this, I get it. One potential juror who's still in the pool said the laws aren't strong enough. Anyone can get a gun. That's kind of what the Democrats say. So it's curious. I wonder what Dr. Jill Biden says about that. Dr. Jill Biden probably agrees with that, huh? When asked about the Second Amendment, she sure thought that she could judge the case fairly. So it's probably a pro-government juror right there. Other jurors said that they know about the case from news reports, but did not have a detailed understanding of the case. One woman who volunteered for Hillary Clinton was pressed by the judge over whether she could remain impartial. She says, I don't see any relation between the politics, she said, telling the judge she would be fair. Hillary Clinton supporter. Wonder if she's going to convict the president's son when Trump is running. Strange. Huh. So we're going to see a little crossover here. Democrats are usually Second Amendment lunatics. They want everybody to have no protection at all, just call the police that they control. And now the Democrats are going to have to say that Hunter didn't violate any of those laws. His conduct was, I guess, perfectly acceptable. You can get guns when you're addicted to drugs and then have your wife or ex-wife or girlfriend or whatever she was throw it into a dumpster outside a convenience store. And that's perfectly acceptable behavior. So the judge questioned all of them and the conversation continued. This is what the scene looks like outside the courthouse. The judge carried on. Now 250 people have been called. 250 residents. They're going to be whittled down to 12 jurors. Delaware, one of the smallest states in the country, Biden family looms large over there. As part of the selection process called voir dire, prospective jurors will be asked if they can stay impartial. Can you keep an open mind about Hunter, even if they've been eligible to vote? Other questions touch on the highly politicized atmosphere. Here's one question. Do you believe Hunter Biden is being prosecuted in this case because his father is the president? Or coming from the other side, whether they think he is not being prosecuted for other crimes because his father is president, which is the point I was about to say. Yeah. He's being prosecuted for this traffic offense because daddy's the president. Anybody else had a litany of these things who was not backed by the CIA? Well, yeah, they'd probably be in prison for a long time. So they continue. One potential juror says the Trump trial made him think prosecutors charge cases based on politics. Smart juror. That's true. One man was excused from the jury after saying that the Donald Trump trial in New York made him think prosecutors bring this stuff based on politics. True. He had also said he might not be able to judge the Hunter case fairly because some of his loved ones are struggling with addiction. So that's true. A lot of people are struggling with addiction in this country. A lot more than should be, for sure. A woman in the jury pool told the judge that she is a bartender and periodically served Hunter's uncle at the bar. Yeah, Delaware's tiny. They've been in charge there for a long time. I'm sure they're running into each other all over the place. And that's why Jill Biden also shows up with Secret Service. And we'll see if other people show up too, to constantly remind everybody, all those Delaware jurors, that the Biden family is there. Another woman was excluded from serving on the jury after she had a negative view of the Biden family. What's your opinion? It's not a good one. Sorry, she said. Yeah, good call. Both sides agreed she shouldn't be eligible to serve, so she's gone. Now, another juror, the one who said that this is a political prosecution of Trump in New York, is gone. They said that they're going to strike 23-year retired veteran of the Wilmington Police Department. He thinks Trump, but not Democrats, is a victim of political prosecution. He said, yeah, the Trump trial in New York, the dossier, referring to the Steele PP fake tape, made him believe that prosecutors pursue cases for political reasons. True. Hunter Biden's lawyer, Abby Lowell, also asked a potential juror if Democrats are ever plagued by this. And Abby used a strike. The man also recently said that he recently donated to the RNC, that he was previously supporting a candidate who ran against Beau Biden. Yeah. So it's interesting. They're very, the conservatives on these juries are very talkative. You notice that? They're very talkative. I don't know why they're so talkative. The Democrats are not talkative on these things. No, I'm just pretty impartial. Just watch whatever is on the news. MSNBC sometimes, Rachel, sometimes I've heard of her name for sure. Republicans get on there. They're like, I hate the government and prosecutors. You're all corrupt. They're like, oh, thanks for identifying yourself. You're gone. Thanks for that. Ooh, that was easy. So this carries on. Now, House Republican impeachments have gone nowhere because they're not doing anything useful. And no one really is paying attention to that. Potential jurors also recounts hearing about Hunter's original plea deal. Yeah, he says. Yeah, there was an agreement for a negotiated plea. A lot of people were screaming and yelling about it, the man said. And then, boom, they decided to stop it. He's eligible to serve. He remembers the deal. The potential juror said one of his nephews got addicted to drugs after being prescribed opioids after a football accident. He was a mess, better now. Yeah, that's what happened to my brother, Eric. Rest in peace, bro. He had a biking accident, broke his wrist, got prescribed opioids, then a lot of opioids, then even more opioids. Then it went downhill from there, and he's no longer with us. So I understand that. Yeah, and how does that impact people? Do they have sympathy for Hunter or not? Be very curious. Democrats reject comparisons between Trump's conviction and Hunter's trial. On Capitol Hill, they're all melting down. Raskin says Democrats are not out there saying that Hunter Biden's trial is a farce, it's a fraud, it's rigged. We're not attacking the justice system because it's already been rigged. It's already been rigged in your favor. It is a fraud in your favor. It's in your favor. This is a traffic ticket type of case for someone who's committed a lot more serious and heinous offenses. So the Democrats are playing cover. 25 people have qualified for the jury pool. Whoa, we're getting this done pretty quickly. Selection process still underway as of this moment, but both sides can still strike. Eventually it will be narrowed down. Potential jurors are also rejected because they've got anti-gun leanings or because they're pro-Trump. Both sides agreed to dismiss a Trump critic who expressed support for banning all guns. She says the U.S. should have stricter gun laws here. We should make it harder to kill children at schools. And we should not have rapid-fire weapons that kill a lot of people at once. I'd ban them all together, to be honest, this little communist said. And after Trump won in 2016, she joined a resistance group. There it is. And later supported Democratic candidates. So she's just a good Democrat. Resisting. Yeah. I wonder if she's for the 2 wars that they've gotten us into recently, too. Another juror was excused from the jury pool after he said he couldn't promise the judge the case couldn't judge the case fairly. The juror was a Fox News and Newsmax viewer. Another very loud conservative, very loud. Yeah, I love Fox. I love Sean Hannity. Oh, you're going to strike me? Oh, weird. Both right-wing networks have extensively covered Hunter scandals and legal woes over the years. Judge Norica thanked the man for being honest. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Now, the Democrats were like, oh, crap, I'll just sit here and shut up. Just shut up. The other Democrats were like, should we be honest too? Shut up. Just shut up over there. So far, 34 potential jurors have qualified, with 2 more needed to advance to the next step. Let's see, do we get them today? And wow, a historian says this trial is like an albatross around the president's neck. And yes, that old visual. This is a historic moment for the United States and the history of the presidency. The trial's an albatross around the president's neck. Weighs very heavily on his psyche, said Brinkley. Hopefully Joe's okay. Now, that is from the historian. One potential Hunter juror used to play squash with Joe Biden's late son, Beau. Yeah, everyone knows the Bidens. He's been the senator and then the vice president for like 4 decades. As jury selection moves into I remember how it was with McCain in Arizona. It was crazy. McCain was everywhere. As jury selection moves into the final phase in the Hunter Biden gun trial, one man told the judge he knows the Biden family fairly well, couldn't be impartial. The man added that he'd played squash with Joe Biden's late son, Beau. He was dismissed. Many jurors said they know about the case generally, but not the details. Someone says, I live in Delaware, one person told the judge. You can't swing a cat without hearing something. Another woman said, yeah, Wilmington's a small place. Yeah, everyone's paying attention. And boom, the jury, my friends, has been seated in the Hunter Biden trial. So that is now done. The jury that will hear the case against Hunter has been selected. The panel includes 12 jurors, 4 alternates. Opening statements are expected tomorrow. Be sure you're subscribed. We'll go through it. Now, here's what the jury looks like. 6 men, 6 women on the panel, even splits, reading the preliminary instructions to the newly minted jury, which was sworn in on Monday. And you notice, I don't know if they're the full jury instructions, but it's pretty curious. We have the jury instructions that we're reading here. Now, the judge has confirmed the opening statements will happen Tuesday morning. The jury includes 6 men, 6 women, the majority of whom are black. The majority of whom of the 6 men and 6 women, or of the 6 women? Interesting. Now, the seated jurors include a woman who said she's lost many friends to drug addiction, as well as gun owners, including one who believes that people who smoke marijuana should still be allowed to own firearms, right? So that guy might, this could be a hung jury, man, easily. And that would just be, I think, devastating for the Democrats. If they got a hung jury on this case, or even an acquittal, and Trump got convicted on 34, this case is way stronger than anything they ever presented in the Trump trial. All right, so we got our jury, my friends. 6 women, 6 men, the majority black. Hunter Biden leaves court after the jury is selected. He's out of there. He departed the federal building. It has adjourned for the first day. He walked out with his wife, Melissa Cohen Biden. First Lady Dr. Jill also exited the building about 15 minutes later. Hunter made it through his first court. So opening statements are starting on Tuesday. FBI agent will be testifying, and we, of course, will be here covering it. This is the shot from inside, Judge Norica, and this is Dr. Jill in court supporting her old son and making a show of force in the courtroom. So there's Hunter with his glasses off. Wonder what his blood results look like right now. Abby Lowell talking with some government prosecutor, Judge Norica up there as well. Those are the courtroom sketches. Now, the trial is beginning. White House says that it's not going to interfere with Daddy's amazing leadership of America. The trial against Joe Biden's son, Hunter, will absolutely not interfere with anything. Karine was gaggling aboard Air Force One, said the President of the United States always puts the American people first. I've got nothing to share. about this trial. And so that is it on the day over there. We had a little bit of reporting from the scene. This is this news agency explaining how the Trump jurors just eject themselves, or the anti-Biden jurors just eject themselves. Here's CNN.
Had an interesting development where Abby Lowell, one of Hunter Biden's lawyers, signaled that he's going to seek to strike one particular potential juror who told the court that he believes that Donald Trump, but not Democrats, are victims of political persecution. He said that the Trump trial in New York last week, or in the last few weeks, and other things, including the Trump-Russia investigation, led him to believe that prosecutors pursue cases for political reasons. And when Abby Lowell asked him whether Democrats are ever suffered the same fate, and he says not that he was aware of. Again, his is a former Wilmington police officer who is one of the 250 people called to the courthouse today to serve potentially on this jury. We expect.
All right, so Trump supporters, people who might be disfavorable to the defense, in this case the defense is Hunter, all ejecting themselves or getting booted from the panel. We'll see what opening arguments look like as we continue to cover this, my friends. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. We'll be covering this. We'll also be covering the Trump cases. And so if you want updates on what is happening with Trump's New York appeals and his sentencing, that's coming up next in our very next segment, which is happening right now, my friends. And so we're going to turn our attention back up to New York and see what's going on here. Donald Trump now asking the Supreme Court to step in, do something about what happened with the New York guilty verdict, 34 felony counts, all a rigged sham. We've covered it at length here, but a lot of discussion now about sentencing. Now that Trump will be back July 11th, the big question remains, jail or no jail. And I know it sounds insane that there would be ever an opportunity to jail the current leading candidate for 2024, a former president, likely the next president. But that's where we're at in America. And whenever this comes up, people are kind of shocked to even consider it's a possibility. But when you think about that same feeling, we've had it many times over here. And this is just our current reality. We asked ourselves the same question. How could they possibly indict him for something so stupid? But they did it. And not only did they do it once, they did it 4 times. So they're manufacturing this. And the question becomes, why would they manufacture it if they don't have an end game in mind? Trump came out, posted this on True Social. Says the sentencing for not having done anything wrong will be conveniently for the fascists 4 days before the Republican National Convention. A radical left Soros-backed DA, Alvin Bragg, who ran on the platform of, quote, I will get Trump, reporting to a, quote, acting local judge, Merchan, appointed by the Democrats, who is a highly conflicted person, will make a decision which will determine the future of our nation. The United States Supreme Court must decide. So the question is, what is the Supreme Court capable of doing? What could they do? How does all this work? Lot of questions about that, and there's many different permutations of that. So we're not going to be able to answer all the possibilities here today, but we do have a framework for this, and I've got some ideas on some appealable issues, and there are many of them. We have just a sampling here of what we're able to dump out based on the things that we've covered. But this is how appeals work. And there's this beautiful chart. We'll run through it very quickly so we get our bearings straight as we consider the appeal and talk about some potential outcomes on how this all works. But you'll notice this document came over from Georgetown University Law Center, and it gives us a breakdown of appellate standards of review. So let's think about this in terms of criminal law. We know that a standard in criminal law is beyond a reasonable doubt. We just had that in the Trump trial. Did Trump commit these crimes beyond a reasonable doubt? Jurors said they did, that he did, because they don't understand how any of this works. But that's the standard, the beyond a reasonable doubt standard. So now we're not in criminal court anymore. We're in a criminal case, but we're in appellate land now. And so we ask ourselves, what are the possible mechanisms by which this appeal can move forward? What are the judges looking for? What are they looking at? And you'll notice this chart gives us a nice breakdown. So think about this as a spectrum. On this end, we have areas in which there is complete deference towards the underlying decision. So what happened at the lower level, we don't question. There's not much to appeal. Whatever comes up goes right back down because it's fine. We just don't even consider it. On this other side, on the other end of the spectrum, is stuff that we look at like it's brand new. It's fresh. We have to look at it again. It just came out of we're not sure. It's like some guy's brand new at your office and he tried something for the first time, like, holy crap, I better just look at that again from scratch because you don't know anything. Let's look at it from the very beginning. So it's a spectrum, it's a scale, and then in the middle is where you have the scale. You have some things that have minimal deference, some deference, a little more deference here, even more, and then it's complete. We're asking ourselves about questions of law. Did Judge Mercan properly address legal concepts or not? And if there are questions of law, generally they're de novo review, which means we look at it fresh. Other things, what if it's a question of fact? If the judge makes some decision, we ask, was Judge Mercan clearly erroneous when he was making some sort of a decision about some matter of fact? When we ask about a jury decision, was there the standard? Was there substantial evidence? Was the decision a reasonable one? And as we move up, we ask ourselves about other things. Discretionary decisions that took place. Was there an abuse of that discretion? If the judge had some discretion to allow this in or to not allow that in, was that within the normal bounds of discretion or was it outside of the bounds of discretion? So those are the main areas that we're working on. What was the evidence? Was it reasonably interpreted by the jury? Were some of the decisions in the trial clearly erroneous? Did the judge abuse his discretion and so on? That's what we're measuring all of this against. So that's the chart. Now, practically, what are some of the things that we'll measure against for a possible appeal? And these are just broad categories. To be honest, I could probably spend hours and hours and hours filling this out. This was just a little bit of time based on what we've talked about here briefly. But the judge, appellate problems, he was clearly biased. The evidence of that, donations to Joe Biden. He commented, and we heard his daughter say that he hated Trump's tweets. He was prejudicial before this ever started. The daughter works for Joe Biden, raises money for him, has raised almost $100 million for Democrats, and the judge vouched for his own court when he was talking to the media about this, saying, we're doing a great job. We're preparing for all of this stuff. So all of that, in my opinion, shows he's clearly biased. He has some discretion whether to recuse himself or not. And so he should have recused himself. Now he's going to say, I went up and talked to an ethics committee and they said that I'm okay. But after he did that, we learned about his daughter, who's within the 6th degree of separation of the New York ethical guidelines, is making almost $100 million for her company. And she's actually using this trial in her campaign copy, in her newsletters and her Facebook ads. So all of that was an abuse of discretion. It should be reversed. Prosecutors as well, clearly biased. Everything that they filed about selective prosecution, vindictive prosecution, that should all come back down. Matthew Colangelo came over from the Biden administration. Bragg campaigned on getting Trump. We've got Mark Pomerantz is questioned about deleted evidence or deleted prosecution material. We've got a ton of problems with these people. And so anything that Trump has already filed and marked that sinks this in stone should come back down, should go up on appeal and then send this case back down. We also had some jury problems. Of course, 83% in this district voted for Alvin Bragg in Manhattan. 83%. They were not sequestered at all during their deliberations. There were some shenanigans happening there where they were released for a week. Then they came back for closing arguments. Then they went immediately into deliberations. They were not sequestered at all. There were some very strange things happening with the jury. That list could certainly be expanded as well. Now, the charges were obviously problematic. Just one simple thing I think is a logical inconsistency is that the misdemeanor predicate offense, which we don't even know what it is, extended the statute of limitations so that they could bring this case in the first place, even though it's a misdemeanor, so it wouldn't have extended the statute of limitations in and of itself. So they are using a misdemeanor to aggravate another misdemeanor into a felony, even though both of the crimes are misdemeanors in and of themselves. So they're adding two things together to create something that they don't have the properties of. Doesn't work. The jury instructions were extremely problematic, as we saw. There was this concept that the jurors could pick a crime, any crime. We talked a lot about that. So they didn't have to have any unanimity in the predicate or the object offense. Yes, they had to have unanimity for the top line elements, but the sub element, which is the intent to commit another offense, could be anything that they wanted. And in the jury instructions themselves, they gave the jurors a literal roadmap. This was insane. He put in there, says you can just pick whatever you want. Pick this formation of an LLC. If Michael Cohen formed an LLC, that's enough evidence. The bank records that were associated with Cohen's wire to Davidson, that's enough. So in other words, you committed another falsifying business records account, a crime that's not charged. That's a misdemeanor that can be any one of these transactions: a 1099 form, an invoice from Cohen's Investor Advisory Services to Resolution Consult. It's insane. They could pick whatever they wanted. That's obviously something that I think is clear error. The evidence in this case was outrageous. Trump was denied access to exculpatory materials all over the place. The big one that we talked a lot about was the Stormy Daniels documentary, and the witnesses were just trash. Michael Cohen, convicted for perjury, lying to Congress, admitted to lying to another federal judge when he took his plea deal, and he also admitted in trial to stealing from the Trump Organization in front of the jurors. And the prosecutors used him as their star witness. In fact, the only witness who testified as to anything that even remotely resembles the elements of the offense. So he was terrible. Stormy Daniels had 2 written denials, multiple other denials in media, owes Trump over $500,000, and literally wants Trump in jail, according to her own tweets and posts. So these are their star witnesses who were subject to multiple motions to preclude, motions in limine, to limit what they can say. Stormy's entire testimony was they were attempting to preclude it, and the judge let it in over their objections. So their objections should have been sustained. Her testimony should never have come in. That's reversible error. Precluded the FEC witness, Trump's star witness, or someone who could have come out to explain that the FEC laws don't implicate him, was never allowed to come in and testify. And every other rule that this judge created for this trial was designed to create one outcome, which was a guilty verdict. So those are appealable issues. I think there is a ton of them. Now, I think the consensus is that this case will get reversed on appeal. A lot of people are of that mindset, but is the damage already done? And are they going to put him in jail? I want to share with you this ridiculous article that came over from the New York Times. And they're fantasizing about this, hyperventilating about it, really enjoying themselves a little bit too much. This one guy who we've played here before, you know his name, Norm Eisen. There's a scale of TDS just like anything else. You know, you could have like a pulled back muscle, or you could have a broken back. It's a spectrum. Norm Eisen is level 10, clinical, terminal TDS. It's irreversible. You can't come back from it. It's now physically contorting the look and everything. It's really pretty serious business. Hopefully he can deal with it. It's permanent. He writes an article about why prison is appropriate for Trump. Now, on the opposite side of this, they're going to say why prison is not appropriate for Trump. And this is from Nancy Gertner. Don't know much about her, but she is giving us a different take that's kind of a big begrudging Trump shouldn't go to prison. It's not very enthusiastic for him to stay out of custody. But let me run through this just briefly. I'm not going to read the full thing verbatim, but I want to show you what they're thinking about, because this is the logic that the judge could follow. And I could even see this happening. He says, having witnessed every day of this Trump trial, I believe he should be sentenced to incarceration. He says, I'm a lawyer, not a judge. I've been practicing for a long time. And he says, jurors were given only one option. Will spare us his legal analysis, which is incorrect. But he says, because of the legitimacy of our entire system of government, this offense is deserving of punishment. So it's not that Trump falsified his spreadsheet. It's that he stole 2016. That's how mad they are. So I don't want to miss that. some people ask, how can they throw him in jail for a business record offense? Well, that's not really what they're saying. They're saying he stole the election. He stole 4 years from the whole country, and he did it through this NDA. They say sentences should take into account outcomes in comparable cases. And this is the reason why there's some good data in here. He says, my research for a book, which I'm sure he's writing, Trying Trump, is sell 1 trillion copies because lefties are whacked. He says, in the most serious of cases, I examined 10,000 prosecutions for falsifying business records since 2015. In the most serious of these cases, about 10% of the total incarceration was imposed. So 1 in 10. He looked through 10,000 of them, and he's doing this for a reason because he wants to come up with some justification for asking for incarceration. So you always question his methodology, but that's what he's saying. Mr. Trump's assault on our democracy, he says he's shown no contrition. He's defiant. He's also been held in contempt for 10 different violations. So 10 contempts, plus they stole the election. The court may also say that he's already got a bunch of other verdicts against him, right? Which would be inappropriate, but he could say, well, he's already had these other penalties. And so now prison time is warranted because nothing is making him realize what the penalties are. Finally, sentencing is not only about accountability, but also deterrence. And we don't want Trump doing this again. So he says Trump should be incarcerated and imprisoned. So here is the opposite take. The case against prison for Trump says, I do not have information that Trump will have, but here's the deal. Because falsification of business records in the first degree is a Class E felony, the possible sentence could be probation, all the way up to 4 years in state prison. Could be a fine, could be a period of supervised probation, and it sounds like it could also be diversion. So it could also be a situation where the charges go away. Ends up with the charges being dismissed as long as Mr. Trump has fully complied with the terms of the probation. Now, one starting point is considering the sentence. Have other defendants been sentenced to prison? While defendants convicted can be sentenced to prison, most are not, especially first offenders. So Trump also has that to his advantage. To be sure, this case is unique. It involved more than falsification. There it is. She even agrees. It was about interference with the election, right? Pathetic. Some have pointed to the fact that Trump showed no remorse. But not expressing remorse is one thing. Attacking a jury, right? So this is supposed to be someone who has less TDS, but not really. But the decision was tested by 12 neutral citizens, gag me. There is no question that his attacks reflect a fundamental lack of respect. So even the opposite take from the Times is like, lock him up, basically. I would also consider Mercan's contempt findings. And as far as other criminal proceedings go, nothing has been adjudicated. These are just pending cases. So her bottom line is this. The factors pointing to imprisonment are outweighed by Trump's unique position. So she says no jail, which is weird because her entire article basically sounded like yes jail. Mercan pulled his punches in imposing fines, and for Mr. Trump's repeated violations, anyone else would have been jailed. No, anyone else would never have been prosecuted, Nancy. Mr. Trump no doubt will be treated differently, already has been. That is less harshly. Sorry, he shouldn't have even been here. Than other criminal defendants are in our extraordinarily punitive criminal legal system. Our legal system is far too retributive, no matter what the crime. Besides, Mr. Trump is different because he was president and could become president again. So a terrible piece from both of these weirdos. A senior lecturer in law at Harvard Law. That sounds about right. Sounds like somebody from Harvard wrote that. Okay, so that's New York Times. Both of them basically arguing for incarceration. The Harvard professor's only real analysis on this was that Trump is the president. So that gives him justification for not going into custody. So both sides are essentially asking for it. And I want to share a couple of these clips with you because Schiff wants him jailed. Comey wants him jailed. We're going to hear from Trump himself in a minute, so stick around. Mike Johnson says SCOTUS should step in. We've got reaction from Trump and Alina Habba. So let's just get through a couple of these weirdos just so we can see what they're actually saying, and then we'll cleanse the palate. But here is Shifty. He's on CNN making his case to his voters. And what happens if they don't come up with jail? Are the lefty voters going to just wallow and cry?
No, I don't think it'll be dangerous for the country. And we have seen Trump urge mass protests outside the courthouse that never materialized. But nevertheless, this is, I think, what Donald Trump is aiming for. This is essentially his threat that if he gets jail time, that he's going to encourage his supporters to rise up. And we saw the very, deadly results of that on January 6th. So I don't think the public is going to respond to that call. I hope we learned something from the awful experience of January 6th.
Yeah.
But it's very clear.
Weird gulp on that one. Hopefully we learned something from January 6th. Aside from the fact that the FBI and the HSI were there.
What Donald Trump is suggesting here. And this is something I think that the judge needs to take into consideration also, not to be intimidated by that threat, but as a further evidence, this defendant not only doesn't accept responsibility, but is willing to endanger people, just as Trump is willing to violate the gag order and potentially endanger witnesses or jurors or the judge himself or family members. That's something the judge ought to be considering.
All right, so that's total loser Adam Schiff, who's been censured like a pathetic congressperson, total embarrassment to his entire legacy. And he should feel really ashamed about that, who is now saying that the judge ought to be considering jailing Trump. That's what they want. This has been their end game for a long time, and they can just taste it. Here's Comey, says it's not even a big deal. Just do it. Just do it. Jen Psaki's like, are you friggin' nuts, James? You lost your mind, bro? And he's like, yeah, no problem. Just put him out in the pasture. He can go hang out with the cows.
So a lot of people have suggested that there are a range of factors that would make it difficult to put the system has not been tested in this way. Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No, they would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population.
Yeah, put him with the cows.
But it's obviously doable.
Yeah, it's just doable. Just put him out with the cows, man. Out of the pasture. And you could put a couple guards out there too. Maybe they'll fall asleep when the cameras go off. Who knows? All right, so that's what they're saying. That's literally what they're saying. Just put him out in the pasture. Put him out with the cows. He can eat and exercise. Get him a little bullpen out there. Hook a little rope up to his neck, and he can just do circles around the pole. Just circles around the pole for a couple of years. All right, so Trump says, look, man, I don't care if they're talking about jail. We don't beg for these people. We're going to persevere. We're going to raise more money than God, and we're going to just have turnout at the polls in ways you've never even seen before. We're going to make America great again.
The judge could decide to say, hey, house arrest or even jail.
It could.
What that could be.
I'm okay with it. I saw one of my lawyers the other day on television saying, oh, no, you don't want to do that to the president. I said, you don't beg for anything. You
don't beg. You don't beg, says Trump. I'm not worried about jail. And Trump also had a couple of other individuals coming out here. Trump's lawyer and Alina Habba also had some clips. And so before we get to them, let's see what Mike Johnson had to say about this, because they brought him over on the media.
Let's bring in
Mike Johnson with Fox News on the Sunday shows. And he got asked about this. Here's what he says.
Worked with President Trump a few weeks ago to see this for myself.
What
happened there was outrageous. And you're right. The American people see it. This is a purely political exercise, not a legal one. And everybody knows that. They know intuitively that it's wrong. And the people are outraged. I'm in one of those swing states today. I'm in Ohio and Michigan today. I'll be in Illinois tomorrow. By the end of this week, we'll have been in 115 cities in 29 states. And I'm telling you guys, something is happening out there.
Yeah.
People see what is going on. They see that the Democrats are so desperate because President Trump is crushing Joe Biden in the polls. They see the Democrat Party and the left so desperate to stop him that they'll risk the destruction of our entire legal system to do it. And that is not hyperbole. That's what's going on here. We broke records on our fundraising platforms last night. We'll continue to do that. We even set up a new website. Go to supportbjt.com, because that's how us in Congress, members in Congress, are going to help stand with him and defend this and make sure the right verdict is rendered November 5th. That's the American.
Okay, I think we'll say thanks, but no thanks on that website recommendation. Was that for Congress, or is Trump going to get that money?
Step in, since this will impact.
Well, there's a lot of developments yet to come, but I do believe the Supreme Court should step in. Obviously, this is totally unprecedented, and it's dangerous to our system. I mean, we've all discussed this before, and you all talk about it all the time. This is diminishing the American people's faith in our system of justice itself. And to maintain a republic, you have to have that. People have to believe that justice is fair, that there's equal justice under law. They don't see that right now. Yeah. And I think that the justices on the court, I know many of them personally, I think they're deeply concerned about that as we are.
SCOTUS
So
is concerned.
I think they'll set this straight, but it's going to take a while. You're right. The process takes a while to play out. The Democrats know that, of course, and they're dragging it out. That was the whole objective. They want to try to bankrupt Donald Trump. They want to diminish his credibility and go after his character. They wanted to keep him off the campaign trail, which they were successful in doing for many weeks, and now they want to call him the convicted felon. This will be overturned, guys. There's no question about it. It's just going to take some time to do it.
Right. Yeah, and meanwhile, you've done nothing about it. I was thinking, gosh, it would be really nice if maybe Mike Johnson, he sounds like he's very energized about this. So maybe a good career path for him would be to run for Congress, get elected to the Speaker of the House, and then maybe he'll have some power to do something about that. That would be really nice because he talked about a lot of the same things that we talk about here, also very concerned about how this is very problematic for America and the justice system, and how exactly they're trying to keep him off the campaign trail, and how they're trying to interfere with the 2024 election right now, right here and now through these different things. But they don't do anything about it. They just keep stamping the spending bills. Not defunding Jack Smith, not doing anything. They send stupid letters, not even subpoenas. Thanks, guys. All right, so here's Trump's lawyer. He says Trump did nothing wrong, giving it back to George Stephanopoulos. Here is what this sounded like on ABC.
There's several legal experts have criticized the way the Trump legal team handled this trial. Was it a mistake for the president not to testify?
I think in light of the Judge Merchan's decision about the scope of allowable cross-examination, which I believe was wildly wrong. I think it would have been dangerous for President Trump to take the stand. But I think had President Trump taken the stand, certainly on direct, he would have been a compelling witness. I continue to believe, as I believe most Americans believe, that President Trump did absolutely nothing wrong here, certainly nothing illegal, and certainly not rising to the level of this conviction. So I think that was a decision that was made in light of the way that Judge Merchan was handling these proceedings.
Yeah, Trump could not have
nothing
testified.
Wrong. Well, 12 jurors said he clearly falsified the business records
12
and
New
did
York
it to
jurors
advance a conspiracy.
With a rigged set of jury instructions.
I believe that
George.
verdict is not supported by anything even close to proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, we're going to be vigorously challenging this verdict on appeal. We think we have ample grounds to. I think some of Judge Merchan's evidentiary decisions really throughout the conduct of this trial were frankly astounding. Not allowing Brad Smith to testify the way that he wanted. This is one of the world's leading experts on federal election law, severely limiting the scope of
because if he would have testified, the jurors would have said, oh, he didn't break that law.
Examination of Robert Costello, who I believe had absolutely damning information about the prosecution's case. On decision after decision after decision, Judge Merchan, I think, departed from normal courtroom procedure, normal courtroom practice to essentially stack the deck against President Trump. And again, these are all issues that we're going to raise on appeal. We're going to raise them vigorously, and we believe that we're going to win.
All right, so I think he's right. I think this will come back down on appeal. The big question, of course, is about the jail and the sentence. The sentence is coming up right before the RNC. Trump is not going to be begging them for anything. Are they going to have the bravado to actually try to lock him up? Here's what Alina Habba says when they get asked about this from the BBC. She says, is he going to campaign from a jail cell? Here's Alina Habba in the House.
We have seen some corruption that this country has frankly never seen before in our judicial system. It is very real. It is not posturing by any means. It is 100% a problem that this country is going to have to handle and get a grapple on in November. Donald Trump is the victim of political selective prosecution.
And if he fails in his appeal that you say that you would win, and he does end up in jail, would he run for president from a jail cell?
You better believe it.
He is running for president. Nothing will change there.
Even if he ends up being locked up?
Again, I recommend you find the latest polls in this country from the people that live in this country, the people that need him in this country, because frankly, it's more important than anything anybody else thinks. Our people are speaking loudly. They're donating. They're small donors. And they're standing up because they're afraid, because we cannot have this happen to us.
All right. So Alina Habba in the House hinting that, yeah, Trump will be running from a jail cell if he needs to. The question is, will they actually have the bravado to order him to jail? I don't think that they will. I think that this is more or less a humiliation ritual meant to be a slow squeeze, slow pain. If they actually ordered him into custody, I think that is even too much for them to bite off. Now, that doesn't mean that they don't put some type of limitation on him. So when we talk about criminal sentencing, there's usually a pretty broad range of possibilities for a judge laid out in front of them. And we heard some of those possibilities, all the way up to probation at the low end, all the way up to 4 years prison at the high end. Can the judge run those things concurrently? Does he run them consecutively? Does he just order probation, or does he find something in the middle there? I don't know what the home detention laws are in New York, but there are many options in Arizona at county and state levels for home detention, home confinement. And you can see a situation where they do that with Trump. They say, look, because you're the president and it's your first time offense, there are some additional complexities here. So we're not going to take you into custody here today, but you are going to be sentenced to home detention. We will grant you work release, just like any other defendant in America, because this is, no one's above the law. So you'll be also granted work release, just like they would. So this will not infringe on your campaigning ability or your First Amendment ability, whatever. And you'll be confined at Mar-a-Lago or Trump Tower, and you'll be free to campaign for 8 hours a day, just like everybody else who's on work release for home detention. And so you're free to leave Trump Tower from 8 a.m. to whatever p.m. at night or whatever hours he picks, and then he has to report back home. Something like that, I think, would be not outside the realm of possibility. Or he'll put some other conditions, check on a probation officer, check with somebody more regularly, some sort of intensive probation to keep him bogged down indefinitely. Now, I think the judge will also set out a long term of probation, whatever that term looks like, 1 year, 5 years, or 3 years. I don't know what the lengths are for felonies there in New York, but probably long. And he'll continue to have other impositions on him that will make campaigning in his life difficult in 2024. But I think the idea that he actually gets put into physical prison or custody is just not a possibility that practically can happen. And if the judge doesn't, now let's be clear about this. I think the judge would love to do that. I don't think if the judge doesn't sentence him to jail, it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because he cannot. It's too big of an ask. So the next biggest play will be to try to bog him down with some other conditions that don't result in confinement, but there are many other options there. So the judge might sentence him to home confinement with work release or something similar to that. And it would be very difficult for him to campaign in that setting. So we're obviously going to be here continuing to cover it. Trump is going to have to go and meet with probation to give a pre-sentence interview. And then there will be a pre-sentence report. Trump has a lot going for him in the fact that he's the president. This is a rigged prosecution, but the fact that it's rigged, I think, is actually the thing that hurts him, because he's not going to be treated like every other defendant. He already has been abused by Bragg and the courts in multiple locations now. So we'll see if they have the bravado to do it. I really hope that they do not. But if they do, things are going to get a lot more intense, no doubt about it. And I think even on the current trajectory, they've made Trump a martyr. How far are they willing to go with that? Every time they try to squeeze him, he just gets stronger. And so there's a silver lining in all of this. And he's probably, maybe, the only person in modern American history who could survive an onslaught like this and just keep going and literally sit here and scoff at them. Don't you beg them for anything. So we are going to be here continuing to cover this, my friends. We got great segments on this litigation that's happening here. If you're interested in this video, if you like this one, be sure you watch this next video that we've got linked here for you so you can enjoy that one. We'll see you back here on the next one. And it's good to see you, my friends. Let's see who's back over here in the house. As we wrap up the day, we've got 3 good segments that we attended to. Trump speaks, says never beg. We also had Trump's sentence and the various predictions on those sentences now just come out. Trump appeal options, we talked about all the various categories for what those might be. And Trump is calling for SCOTUS to intervene. We also had Hunter Biden trial and the updates there, including his objections. And we're excited to see how that trial unfolds as well. And also, I wanted to flag and shout out our friend Garrett Ziegler, who is there. And so make sure you are supporting Garrett Ziegler. We're going to show you his X account. He's there right now. And so he's going to be having a bunch of good updates from our friend Marco Polo, 501c3 on X. He's the guy who wrote that book up there along with his team. So check them out. Marco Polo USA going to be reporting on the Hunter Biden trial. And we're going to try to connect with Garrett. We're going to try to see if he'll join us here on the day because he's there going through it and he is the expert extraordinaire. All right, my friend. So now, yeah, we're going to chat now. Let's get Garrett in the house. We're going to try to get him on. What's up? Okay, so let's see what you guys say about this, my friends. Thank you for all of these amazing donos that have come in. Very excited to have you here on this incredible Monday. We got some good Garrett comments. What's up? Lenny Malley's in the house. Says, please smash the like button, baby. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share on all social media platforms. God bless you all. Love every one of you all. From Lenny Malley. We love you back, Lenny. Super great to see you. We got this one from B-Man in the house. Says, nothing's going to happen or something will happen and they'll call for sentences after the election so Mr. Biden can use that on President Trump. Good one from B-Man. We'll see if something happens. Certainly feels like they're trying to orchestrate one. Voice of the People says, Off-Label Podcast will be streaming the entire hearing tonight. Tomorrow, our J6 episode with Lectern Guy and Glenn Croy. Come join the fun. So check out my friends Off-Label Podcast. They're streaming the entire hearing, which was what, the Fauci hearing tonight? Man, that was kind of a mess. We watched some of the Fauci stuff this morning on Locals on our members only stream, and it was a little rough. I wish the Republicans were better prepared. Yeah, anyone was better prepared in Congress. What's up, Tony Hay Munkets? Bringing in 5 new membos. We got Thomas Z. Mystique's coming in. C. Warren's in the house. Pope Rackets touched me. Rachel W. all coming in, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets, bringing in new membos. Good to see you, Tony. Hey, what's up, Mo Skittle? Mo Skittle just became a supporter. We'll see you on our members only stream in the morning as well. Great to have you. Hey, Genius by Birth. What's up, Genius? Says, best thumbnail ever. Is that the Hunter brings his mommy to court one? Thank you for that, Genius. Thank you. I was happy about that one. That was about my 3rd draft of that one. I had a couple other, I'm working on my texts on the bottom of the thumbnails now. That's a change we made. And we're trying to see if they're more clickable. And I think they are, actually. So thanks. That's good feedback, Genius by Birth. Thank you for that. I was pretty happy with that. My first 2 attempts, I was like, meh. And then something, I was like, oh yeah, Hunty brings mommy to court. That's pretty good. What's up, Genius? Good. Thank you for sending that. I liked it too. We got this one from Voice says, your thumbnail and video editor have upped their game. I'm impressed. Well, thank you, Voice, for that nice compliment for our team. I do all the live stream thumbnails and the team does the post-production thumbnails. And the other thing we've been trying is we're doing the harder intros. So we're putting in the clips, like 3 or 4 clips at the start of the video, so you can preview what is coming up in the video. So I'm curious if you guys like that, looking for your feedback on that. And then we'll get better at it. We'll also adjust audio. I know the audio has been a little bit repetitive, so we'll have new audio in there. And we're going to try to continue to level things up. Hopefully you like them. What's going on, Voice of the People? Thank you for that one. We got this one from Tobo. Says, David Horowitz used to be hard left in the 70s. He cited one of their sayings that probably applies to a lot of the left these days as they take up a cause. Quote, the issue is not the issue. The issue is the revolution. That's what got folks a revolution. And we won't like what happens if they succeed. They won't like what happens if they succeed. Good to see you, Tobo. David Horowitz. We got Glocky's in the house. Says, I bet I can guess what the outcome of Hunter's trial is going to be. This one from Mia Cathell says, juror number 2 primarily watches MSNBC and CNN, donated to Hillary Clinton, volunteered on her campaign. says she doesn't see any relation with Hunter being the son of the president. And Mia's doing, wow, okay, so Mia Cathell. Maybe we'll have, I'm trying to find good people to follow for this trial, so that sounds like a great one. Didn't realize she was doing it. Shout out to Mia Cathell. What's up? Glocky says, part of me doesn't want Trump or Republicans to win in November because they're being set up to be in charge when the financial system crashes and the housing market crashes and World War III pops off. I think we should let Democrats burn it all down, be the ones to blame, and then rebuild from the ashes. Yeah, I mean, we're wondering if things crash before the election. Can they hold it off before the election? In other words, that might happen before. I'm not sure it will. Clock is getting close. But I understand what you mean. I mean, there's basically an impossible storm ahead of us. I'm not sure how anybody's going to fix it. And I don't think that Trump is going to save America from what's coming. Trump is just one man. We've got Congress. We've got all the courts. We've got all the corporations. There is a full-scale ransacking of America happening right now. Trump will slow it, but he's going to need a lot of support to reverse any of this stuff. So it's a precarious position. What's up? CR says, Jill is an elder abuse doctor. That's her doctor. She's disgusting. What's up, CR? 1 month as a membo, CR in the house. First month's the hardest. It gets easier from there. Jill is an elder abuse doctor. She is disgusting. That is true. Dr. Elder Abuse. I like it. Glocky's here. Sharing this one. Judges and prosecutors and the government in general can kiss my Italian derriere. Yeah, here's one. This woman threw a Molotov cocktail at a New York Police Department car. She got 15 months prison. This is Paulette Harlow. She protested and prayed in an abortion clinic, got 24 months, 2 years prison. Nice. This one from John Libby says Trump's defense got what? 10 rejections of jurors? How many did Hunter's defense get? Yeah, I'm not sure what they got. Trump's defense got 10. I don't remember the numbers, John. Yeah, but it feels like Hunter jurors will maybe be hung. They'll just be a hung jury. It's Biden homeland. Just like New York was anti-Trumpville. They picked the right jurisdictions, the right forums. Glocky says, Peter Navarro is actually a pretty popular guy in prison. He gives advice to the other guys he's locked up with. If Trump goes to prison, it wouldn't be hard to picture him brokering deals between the gangs to stop fights and giving financial advice. Everyone comes out a real estate mogul and becoming extremely popular amongst the inmates. But the ultimate baller move would be for Trump to just buy whatever prison they send him to. Trump leads another insurrection inside the prison. I like it. Tony, hey, bringing in new membos. What's up? Just Diaz here. Eric with the K's coming in. Sir Don Tripp is here. Vibes in my lane. And Richard M. New membos courtesy of Tony. Hey, what's up? Deborah C., our new supporter. We'll see you in the morning, Deborah C. Can't wait to see you. Look at this one. From MAGA Hat Stays says Democrats got this one wrong. They just woke up the sleeping giant, the American people. I think there's a lot of that energy right now. Hey, MAGA Hat says Trump reminds the media that he prefers the term justice impacted individual. Okay, it's not guilty. It's justice impacted individual. Thank you, MAGA Hat. This one from B-Man. Yeah, President Trump is coming to Arizona. Our friend Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, they got him coming. He's coming to the church in Cave Creek, Arizona, I think Thursday. It's going to be awesome. It's going to feel a little bit MAGA here. It's going to be good. Hey, Gypsy says, Membo for 17 months. Will you live stream from Vegas, please? Yeah, we're definitely going to be live streaming from Vegas. So your boy's going there. We're going to do a debate watch party. I've got another event just separately happening there for business development, business stuff. But I will be there for the debate. We'll probably do a debate watch party from Trump Hotel live in Vegas because we'll be there just coincidentally for the debate, if the debate happens. But then when we do our meetup, I don't know if we're going to be live streaming that. I think it's going to be a little intimate. I don't know that we want to live stream that. We want in-person, intimacy. I want people to be able to connect and not feel like they're being broadcast all over the interwebs. But maybe we'll do a short stream. Maybe we'll do a 30-minute short stream or a short, show or check-in or whatever. That kind of sounds fun. Maybe we'll do something. I'll think about it. We'll think about it, Gypsy. But my plan is not to set up and do a full live stream show because we want to meet. We want to be in person and kind of hang out there. So just come to Vegas. That's the solution. 17 months as a membo, Gypsy. That's amazing. That's a baby and then some. That's almost 2 babies coming up. I had to think about that one. Thank you, Gypsy, for that comment. We're looking forward to Vegas, my friends. WatcherLodge.com. Get your tickets. What's up? This one, MAGA Hat, says Donald Trump was found guilty of being Donald Trump. MAGA Hat also says this one, my mommy says she is sick of those commies ruining our country. Glocky shared this one. You know what's not cool, Hunter? Leaving your crack cocaine in my office. Yeah, not cool at all. This one from Spud says, this is Hunter's real mom. Her name is Nelia Hunter from Scanatialis. Gosh. And he has that horrible tattoo of Finger Lake on his back. That's Hunter and maybe Mama. DJ says, on Levin's show this weekend, he went through the SCOTUS way for President Trump. I think it was on Saturday. Sounds like a good show. Shout out to Mark Levin. Glocky sharing this one said, this is a fun meme from Glocky. Says, here's Greta. You know who she is. This is what her face looks like when she watches Hunter do his lines of coke with a plastic straw instead of using paper. Very bad for the planet and your brain. Knox says, my clients loved Robert Durst when he was in Galveston jail. They will love Trump in jail. He'll get so many free tattoo offers. Amazing. Trump, man, he'll just take over the jail. They'll have to jail him harder. They'll indict him again. What's up? Milo Phone Bill says, should we let this evidence into court? Should we let this evidence into court? Is what all the people are thinking. Glocky sharing this one. Peasants getting 10 years for lying on an ATF form. Hunter Biden getting probation for lying on an ATF form. Is there a difference between the two pictures? No. They're the same picture. Salty Sarge says a black gun with a clip on the laptop and a revolver in the garbage can. That's the Hunter Biden story. Good to see you, Salty, over on Rumble. We got that one from Glocky. We won't share that image because it's got Hunter's nipples on it, and I don't want to share that. What's up, this old guy? Thanks for this one. Says, more prejudicial than probative. You mean like Stormy Daniels testifying for days in the Trump trial? Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I mean. Yeah. It was allowed against Trump, but got to be careful about that in other cases. Surdon Trip, Membo for 10 months. That's a baby plus 1. Good to see you, Surdon Trip. Thanks for being a member for so long. Dennis P says, can the FFL store sue Biden for defamation? Filling out someone else's form is a crime and probably puts the FFL license in jeopardy. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. Did they make any statements about them? Actually, you know what they have? They've actually said, this is a good point. They're actually saying that they might have committed fraud or forgery. They might be looking into that. Yeah. Because yeah, they're making Hunter's defense is making allegations that they fraudulently altered the form. Yeah, maybe they could. Why not? Maybe they'll lose because it's in Delaware. Salty says Deep Miss Muffins should interview Hunter and testify. Deep's Miss Muffins should interview Hunter and testify. We got Goofy for Jesus is here, bringing in new membos. Peter R is in the house. We got Michael S, Richard G, Ariel F, Darren M, gifted membos, courtesy of Goofy for Jesus. Goofy for Jesus, thanks for being here and bringing in new membos. MAGA Hat says, here's Trump, the OG. Man, looking sharp. Looking sharp with that red. Make America Great Again red. Here's another one from MAGA Hat Stays. Looks like it's a nice Trump thumbs up. B-Man says randomly picked 3 President Trump trials. Bannon, Weisselberg, and Trump. Judge Mercant keeps hitting the lottery. Every time he gets a bingo. Bingo. Oh, bingo. I got assigned it again. Oh, bingo. Hey, I won another one. MAGA Hat says Hunter's trial won't get in the way of Crooked Joe destroying the country. No, he'll continue to do that. Knox says, I do have a bad feeling about this. That judge was chosen, as we know, and has also been held in acting status for quite some time. This has been set there and probably waiting for this moment his whole life. They will use acceptance of responsibility, future dangerousness, and deterrence to lock him up. Wow. Yeah, I know, Knox. I have a little, it's an unsettled feeling. If this were a regular defendant, first-time defendant in an actual case like this, I think you get probation all day for a regular case like this. But this is Trump, and this guy's a lunatic, so they might do it. I think the practical implications of doing it will preclude them from actually doing it, but he'll try to say that he wants to do it, and he'll cobble together some alternative that's not actually locking him up. It would be insane if they did that. I actually think it would be the spark. What's up? Maybe that's what they want. Goofy for Jesus says, breaking. Jury is chosen in Hunter Biden's federal firearms case, and opening statements are set for Tuesday. Boom. Coming in hot. We're going to be seeing what they're saying tomorrow. Goofy for Jesus in the house. Good to see you. Thank you for that. Tony Hay, Munkets, bringing in 5 new membos. Hey, it's the Munkets. Bringing in Poem P, Cheryl F, Jeff B, First Love Ya, and Sarah L, all gifted membos. Thank you, Tony Hay, for bringing in 5 new membos. Very nice to have you. Barb's Loves Alaska says, does an appeal have to wait until after sentencing, or can it be done now? And can the SCOTUS rule before any appeal has happened? Yeah, so SCOTUS can do whatever it wants, basically. SCOTUS could just intervene, say this is egregious, and we're SCOTUS. And they could come up with some justification or reason to do it. Now, that's outside of the ordinary. Let's talk about ordinary stuff, which I know this case is not ordinary, but they're treating it as ordinary, which is why they're prosecuting him this way, and he's getting, no benefits at all. Yes, ordinarily, appeals come after sentencing, because what you're doing is you're appealing a judgment. You're appealing a final judgment and sentence, ultimately. And that happens after the sentencing. So the way I generally explain it is you need a verdict, you need some sort of a conviction, then you need a sentence. Think of it like a math equation. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. So you need a judgment and a sentence, or let's call it a verdict or a conviction and a sentence. 1 + 1 = a judgment, and you appeal the judgment. And right now, we only have one. We only have the conviction. We only have the verdict. We don't have the sentence. So once we have both those two, then we'll have a final judgment, and that's what you appeal. But again, SCOTUS can just intervene, and other strange things can happen. But if this goes the ordinary route, that's what it will look like. And by the way, I don't think that the Trump defense wants this to happen quickly for whatever reason. They asked themselves for a July 11th sentencing date, pushing it way out. So they're not accelerating it. And are they going to jail him in July? It'd be nuts. Glocky says, October surprise, Georgia court schedules Fani Willis's conflict of interest hearing just 1 month before the election. Saw that one coming out, in October. So Fani Willis will have oral arguments on the Court of Appeals on whether she should be disqualified after Scott McAfee absolutely weenied out like a little. Anyways, Sergeant Willie, 1 year as a membo. Says Robert Barnes gave you a shout out a few days back. Man, shout out to Robert Barnes. We're going to reach out to him, see if he'll join us in Vegas. It'll be awesome. So that's awesome. We love Robert Barnes. We love our friend Viva. Right next door, vivalawbarnes.locals.com. That's where you can find them. Thank you, Sergeant, for flagging that for us. And shout out to Robert Barnes. Deborah C. What's up, Deborah? Thanks for sending in that nice looking lady with some nice sunglasses. We got Tony Hay Munkett says, hey, it's the monk. It's. What's up, Tony? Yeah, that's right. That's your catchphrase, man. What's up, Goofy for Jesus says, invite Trump to the meetup. That's our plan. Yeah, hopefully he stops by. We're going to be right down the street. I mean, after the debate, we're sort of thinking maybe he'll come to Las Vegas for the weekend to do some campaigning, and we'll just be there on Saturday, and he'll just pop in. It'll be great. What's up, Dolphin fan is the man. Says, hello, Rob and watchers. We've been talking about twins lately. Oh, so I want to put my sense, LOL. Oh, we did. We were talking about twins. We have some new twin babies in the house. Shout out to Political Mom. They got new Political Mom on Locals has 2 new babies in the house. Wild grandbabies. My twin daughters are graduating today from high school. God bless everyone. Dolphin fan is the man in the house. Shout out to all the twins out there. It's pretty cool. We got a lot of new babies on Locals. Real ones. This one's coming in. Hey, Dolphin fan is the man, bringing in new membos. We got Roadside Garage is coming in. Mark B, Jason G, Dog Backwards is God, Ban Chang Bill, Rocky's here, Texas Guitar Gal, Diane B, Susan W, Mark G, Tech Zombie, MSN Rocket. No Japskis in the house. John M, Trisha B, Zach on the glass. Hollywood H, Hill, EB, Tyler, and Kelly D, all gifted membos, courtesy of our friend Dolphin Fan is the man in the house. We got Kathy B. Hey, what's up, Kathy B? Membo for 3 months. First month's the hardest. Gets easier from there. 1/3 of the way to a baby. Says, Mom's in town from Arizona. She loves your show. Shout out to Mom from Arizona. Man, we love our moms, especially our moms in Arizona. Great to have you, Kathy B. Membo for 3 months. And shout out to Mom. Hey, we got more membos, man. Courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man. 20 more membos. Woo! Sheila L's here. Patrick B. We got Axeman R. Ian C. PK from AK's here. The big guys, crackhead son Hunter's joining us. Aren't you supposed to be at Trial, Hunter? Joe H. JDL Lamont. We got Audie Joe. Brandon R. Afro D. We got Imaginary Peep. Chuck R. Susan B. Marjorie S. Baby Cakes is here. Felicia K. First Shot. Pyramid 7. And Vincent M. in the house. Courtesy of Dolphin Fan is the man bringing in new membos. Thank you for bringing in the new membos. Dolphin Fan is the man. We got Goofy for Jesus. Says Trump should buy a pinned striped suit to troll the Dems and walk out like he's like John Gotti or something. Tony Hay Munkets is bringing in new membos. Tony, thanks. Craig V's here. Key C, Herbal Patriot, Mr. Null, Ray M, all gifted membos, courtesy of Tony Hay Munkets. We love our new membos. 5 more from Tony. Marshall H. We have Brian H. Unwokals here. Selrin and Henry back to play in the house. And last one on the tubes is from Grip Van Wrinkled. Says Mercan knows this will be appealed, doesn't he? So what's his end game? Love from Denmark. To make history, to make his name, to make his mark. This will be his legacy. To incarcerate the first president in American history. He'll write a book about it. It'll be the rest of his life. He's done. How'd you have the courage to do something like that? Well, I just knew I had to do it to save my country. Blah, blah, blah. All that crap. All right, let's see who's joining us on X. We'll shout out some X friends, and then we'll jump over to Locals for our members-only after party. Come join us, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. We do members-only streams in the morning. We post extra members-only content, like we did on Saturday, Sunday, and it was a great weekend. So we got some comments over on X. Goofy for Jesus says, this was me voting for Trump in 2016. That's me voting for Trump in 2020. That's me voting for Trump in 2024. Mel Gibson, Braveheart, great film. What's up, Honeybee? TJ King says, beautiful thing sounds like a Spinal Tap album from their psychedelic period. Egregious Darkly's here, says mommy knows best. Shane M. Williams says, more prejudicial than probative. Sort of sounds like the Stormy Daniels testimony. Yeah, sounds like they're copy and pasted. Yeah, Rule 403 is very broad. It's basically everywhere. Everybody's got their own version of it. Comey was the one who sent 2 FBI agents to frame General Flynn, says Salty Sarge. James Pepper's in the house. The Dems jumped the shark and they infuriated the entire Republican base. It was not that we thought that they wouldn't dare to do it. They actually did it. So now there's a problem. Fred Pedamonte says, literally many of the greatest men in history have been convicted felons. Yeah, and the founding fathers weren't on good terms with the English, were they? So that came over from X, my friends. Thanks for sending all those in. Curtis B, shouting out our amazing mods and our meme smiths. Says, thanks, Rob and mods. Good campfire. No doubt about that. It was great. Great to have everybody here. It's a beautiful Monday. It's a beautiful, fresh new month, fresh new week. Tony Hay Munkett says, my down payment for the meat be wearing a red tie. My down payment for the meat be wearing a red tie. Make sure you also go over to watcherlodge.com and register there. So we have a head count, Tony Hay, but that sounds good. Red ties are welcome. Red tie is totally appropriate when we meet up in Vegas. Watcherlodge.com. When you sign up and get your ticket, you will get access to the back end on the platform. So you'll get the meetup feed, you'll get the meetup directory, you'll get the meetup chat, and we're all going to be meeting there in Vegas. So sign up on the calendar, go to watcherlodge.com, Watcher Community Meetup, click buy your ticket, and RSVP. It's going to be great. 4 weeks from now, We're going to have a lot of fun. So that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We want to thank all of our amazing mods and meme smiths. Let's see who is here and joining us. We had Donut clipping for us amazingly today. Carrie B helping out this morning. Let's see who we have to say thank you to. Of course, we know who they are. K-Bean's here. Just Cause in the house. Playing Hooky. Ronnie Cole. Zach Nichols. Janek. We got Dog Digger. Economy Pilot. Donut My Me. Carrie B. Zulu's in the house. Along with our meme smith. Sleepy Dog Lee. Nathan N810. Geegum Geegum. Glocky McGlock. And Elliot. Our Doc Master, all in the house. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going over to watchingthewatchers.locals. We do members-only streams here, after parties, streams in the morning, streams on Saturday. We'd love to have you join us. Come check it out. But if not, well, we are going to be back here tomorrow to get into it again. We'll have the latest on Trump. We'll have the latest on Hunty Poo and whatever else is cooking. And in order to get into it, well, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.